I got an early taste of Arcadian Atlas, which, pardon me while I also scroll through songs, which it's a throwback, like love letter, pixel art styled tactical RPG. It's a modern tribute to strategy RPGs of the past. I'm talking Tactics Ogre. I'm talking Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Advance. Taking turns,
Nice.
but on a grid. And man, I am just first off so stoked that people are taking beats from those games and re-envisioning stuff that was great and that worked, and trying things new with it, and putting their own flavor. This is a German developer, and you can
Oh,
see a
all
little bit of
right.
that, like
Cool.
a little bit of that almost like folk art kind of feel, or I don't want to say the characters look like Legos, but like, miniatures, but like in a good way. Like you could imagine them being carved out of wood. That was something that I really liked about it, just looking at
Okay.
it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I see what you mean aesthetically. I'm checking out this B-roll, and it's like Tactics Ogre, but you're right. The pixel work is crazy. Like,
yeah. And another thing I really loved was the details in the character design. Like you can see their limbs like all shaded, and there's actual like expressions that change on their face. You can see them sort of make a little, even though it's a few pixels worth of actual screen space, you can see their like grimace or their disdain, or when things happen to them, you can see their little sprite just turn
huh,
sour on.
nice. Oh,
So
sweet.
I feel like it had a really cool feel. And it takes a lot of similar story beats from the games it's inspired by, but not in a way that, like, I didn't feel like you just ran a tactics game through Chat GPT. It seems like a well put together story that I actually found pretty like emotionally gripping, while still kind of playing homage to games in the genre that we've loved in the past. Um, so what we got here is like a classic story of succession. The continent of Arcadia was uh, was shattered by war, and there was a time of peace, but now a conspiracy surrounds the death of the king. And a new queen is ascending to the throne, but she banishes her illegitimate heirs, declared illegitimate. And yeah, we're not really sure how or what happened to the king himself, and what kind of plot might thicken behind it. So the story follows two characters, Vashti and Desmond, and it's cool to see it play out. Like, oh, are they romantically involved? Like, what's their relationship? But they serve the kingdom, and all of their beliefs and ideas are just sort of brought into question throughout the
I
storyline,
see.
and
Yeah.
it's cool. It's a nice little sort of tear in like what's right, what's wrong, because magic has been outlawed, but the former princess Lucretia, she's getting people pretty riled up, and on a mission to take back the kingdom, because she, has a feeling something bad happened to Dad, and is now taking up arms. But in her fight, she may have strayed into the path of dark magic, the evil, the bad stuff. Not just the elements, not just fire and water and ice, but the dark, spooky magic. That takes place in caves and things like that.
Oh, damn. All
So
right. Yeah. Very. It sounds very Tactics Ogre. Very uh, yeah. Very inspired by those classic titles,
hmm
especially in
yeah,
the storyline, and of course the gameplay. The gameplay looks definitely top-down, turn-based tactical. Looking like you get that whole. Is there like weakness resistance systems, anything like that? Like,
oh yeah, yeah. It's not. It's very accessible, and sort of has that simple to learn but difficult to master feel to it, because it kind of takes it easy. Like, this is a great game if you don't want like a tough as nails strategy game, but still very rewarding with its level of difficulty, because you can make a couple mistakes, like similar to Final Fantasy Tactics. When you like level up your characters and re-equip them and stuff, you might want like another save, because you don't know what's coming down the pipeline as far as like what the enemies are going to throw at you in the next battle, and it varies it up so that it doesn't get stale. And I actually got kind of hooked on the side missions. There's only limited side missions, because pretty much every time you finish a fight, your characters level up. The main characters, they actually auto level. So you can use like sort of your backup crew, and then not even have to worry about like your story characters who, like, you don't want to pass away permanently in the middle of a fight,
Oh, but
because
there
that'll
is
lose you
permadeath?
the. Actually, no. It's only
Oh, okay.
temporary, like for the duration of the battle. So that's one of those things where it takes it easy on kind of newer players to the genre, and has a solid level of difficulty where it's rewarding, but like you're not being punished anytime you mess up. I mean, it felt very fair. Like I could see where my strategy and battle choices might have put me in a poor position, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to come back at this. I don't care. I actually got kind of stuck doing like a really fun side mission where you fight a bunch of dudes in a tavern, and it was like, oh, they're like specifically
Oh,
like
all
melee
right.
people, and I cannot let them close to my caster, or I might want to switch out my casty boy, to something more armored. And so it doesn't always favor like range versus melee. And you can actually unlock through command points. There's like a separate shop that's not for equipment, but for little like perks almost, if you will. And it'll give you some helpful stuff like tips on your next contract battle anyway. Not story mission, but side mission, like a contracted battle that you get in a tavern, and you just go mess stuff up so that you can get extra experience or skill points that you assign to go up the skill tree, which is not. It's the skill tree isn't that long. It pretty much splits in half for each job type, and you pretty much have spellcasters, rangers, what they call cavaliers, which is like your armored tanky type, and apothecaries, which are your healers. And I like that the healers actually, you can specialize in each of those classes in two ways. Like the healer, you can be more of a field medic, or you can concentrate on a bit of DPS and actually do damage and cause status effects. There's 4 different types of status effects. There's noxious, burning, wet, and like frozen, like the ice kind.
Oh,
And
okay.
you can also cast electric spells, but
Ah, I see. All right.
you can cause a status effect and then use an attack of a certain type to build on like that status effect for bonus damage and stuff. So it's got a healthy level of depth to it, but
Yeah, wow.
it
Sounds like there's a lot to build on.
yeah, but a pretty smooth learning curve. One of the downsides was like it leaves out, like the tutorial doesn't fully explain like casting times, and I kind of found out the hard way that like if you have a character with a crossbow, they have to reload it. like I might have stumbled into that, because you can't really tell how long an action that requires cast time. You can't really tell how long it's going to take until they actually cast it. So it makes it difficult to plan some of those like AoE spells with like your Warmancer, your mage, which I love the sprite work for the Warmancers. I don't know, I
Yeah,
just thought
this
it was really
sprite work is
cool.
awesome, man.
Yeah, you got male and female characters of different colors that you can recruit from your shops, or yeah, anytime you hit a recruitment center, you can recruit at the level that your like main story characters are at. So you don't really have to worry about like, oh no, I left one of my recruits behind in level. You can just kind of get another one, equip him at the level you're at, and then build their whole skill tree from any point in the game. So a lot of cool quality of life improvements from compared to other more difficult games. But yeah, and then like some things you might miss, say if you played like Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, is the camera's locked off and you can't really spin it around. It's meant to only be seen from one angle pretty much, which basically adds up to if your characters are lined up diagonally, like they can be pretty hard to see if things are stacked up against them. You kind of have a little bit of they remove like the opacity so you can see through walls and stuff. But
Yeah, but I can see it right here on the B-roll. It doesn't look. I see it in the inn. It's not. I could see like if I this is the I could in the inn. It doesn't seem too bad, but I could see if there's like gravel or like some sort of like castle, you might be screwed. Like.
yeah, and I mean that's the last thing you want when taking into consideration your level design is like, you know, stuff just blocking the action. But it wasn't too much of a nuisance, but there were a couple times where I was like, oh, I really can't see where I'm aiming this attack right here because I can't just give it a shift
Shit.
left or to the right. Yeah, I think it's something about when they line up diagonally. But all in all, yeah, I gotta give it like a solid 4 out of 5. The moment to moment gameplay was cool. Whether you're it's not difficult to figure out how you should be speccing and building your strategy and your playstyle and your characters. And the action takes a pretty good pace where you know, you don't get exhausted after like one battle. I don't want to say all of them are short and sweet because it can definitely get into like a nail biting fight if you're worried about, you know, losing your characters permanently for the rest of the battle anyway. But yeah, really well done, and it really hits the nostalgia button if you're into, you know, Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics. It's, you know, with storytelling and with the art style, and it's altogether a really great package. I'm once again stoked to see indie developers diving into this particular niche of gameplay, and yeah, really well executed. It's the right amount of tough but fun.
Nice, nice. Man, that sounds awesome. So like if I'm a fan of this tactical turn-based style, definitely pick this one up.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm not speaking to like the hugest audience, but yeah, I want to say it's a must play. Like I got pretty hooked, and I want to see where the story goes, and I want to keep duking it out.
But you know, that sounds awesome. I love these kinds of tactical turn-based games. I feel like they're some of my they're like unsung heroes, right? We had Tactics Ogre Reborn like last year, a year, like 2 years ago. That game,
I think Live Alive is on sale.
yeah, Live Alive is on sale. You know, those games, like they're
it's great to see, not from Square Enix too.
yeah.
And, like, it's nice to see another developer doing it. I gotta land that one.
And not just that, you know, just like the those games get decently high scores too. You know, 8s and 9s, pretty good. Like,
It's a solid target to hit. I'm glad to see it.
yeah, totally. Well, that's Arcadian Atlas, 4 out of 5. You take a look for it. Comes out the 27th.
Yes.
Comes out
27th of July.
hits Steam the 27th of July. It's going to be great. Pick it up if you're a fan of these tactical turn-based style games.